Hello, Hallmarkies and Postables. Welcome to our next episode of Deliver Me a Podcast, part of the Hallmarkies podcast, where we talk about all things signed, sealed, and delivered. And today we are covering the last of the signed, sealed, delivered episodes called A Hope and a Future. I am Jess, and we have three other lovely guests with us here today. We have Cami.
Hi, everybody.
We also have Kaycee.
Hello.
And we have a very special guest joining us, Adam Korson. Thanks for coming on, Adam.
Hello. I am so happy to be here. This is great.
Is anybody worried that they're seeing double?
I mean, I wish I was able to clone myself and just, for this particular, maybe I'll do it here and then I'll do this.
There you go.
Sort of like mirror effect.
Classic. Pair of glasses on, take them off.
Great idea. I came up with the idea. Lovely. All right, well, let's get going. All right, would you stop talking? We could do this the whole time.
Classic technique.
There we go.
I should say my first ever like theater creation, I was in 7th grade and we had to pick an explorer, right, to write about and to present on. And I choose Christopher Columbus. And when the teacher said that you had to create this presentation, in my mind, that went to a one-man show. And so I wrote this entire one-man show on Chris Columbus, his life. And I literally went from this to this, putting on a jacket, taking off a jacket. It was probably the best thing I ever did. Mine is signed to deliver, I would have to say. But
of course.
I hope you got an A+ on that
assignment. I did get an A+.
There you go.
That's awesome.
That so sounds like something I would have done.
Right? I mean, it was the best time. And then, of course, I can't remember one holiday, my family, the whole family was over having dinner, and my parents were like, "Oh, go do the thing with the Christopher Columbus." And of course, I got all my props and my wardrobe, and I did the whole rendition. I showed my wife recently, and well, she's still married to me, so that's good.
Well, past that obstacle there.
There you go. So did you know already at that young age that acting was for you and was something you wanted to do, or is it something you kind of pursued more seriously later in your life?
You know what? I think that was probably the first moment where the bug kicked in. I mean, I grew up watching film and TV, and every Saturday night, my family we would order pizza, and we would have a picnic on the floor and watch movies. The kids, we got to pick, some, Ernest Saves Christmas type movie, and my parents picked, like a Alfred Hitchcock movie or, something classic. So from a young age, my education was really through film on these Saturday night pizza picnics, which was so much fun. And then, and I always wanted to be, I wanted to be everything. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be like a tow truck guy that would save people on the side of the road. And then it was I realized, that was just what I was watching on screen. I didn't want to be that in real life. I wanted to portray that, I didn't want to go through all the schooling to become a doctor. I wanted to play one on TV. So, but it was actually that project, that Christopher Columbus project, where I think the bug was oh, I could do this. Man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So this Signed, Sealed, Delivered has been your only Hallmark role, correct? That you've had?
Yeah.
Okay. Which is
I'm down to do more. Love the Hallmark brand.
Yeah.
Well, we'd love to see you. We'd love to see you as more.
We'll get on board with that.
All right.
We'll get the Postables to, advocate for you.
Oh yeah, they're very vocal.
Let's put out a Twitter campaign and get it going.
We'll get your hashtag started.
Hashtag Adam Korson on Hallmark.
There you go.
Love the branding. Let's do
we'll
it.
Get you in there.
Oh man.
And so, do you have a favorite project that you've done, or a particular movie or a TV show that you've worked on?
I would have to say, I mean, the Signed, Sealed, Delivered episode was one that, for me, will always remain special. The cast alone is just, they were so great and so loving. The creators, everyone involved was just phenomenal. But getting to work with Carol Burnett, for me,
we were going to ask about that.
We were going to ask about that.
You know, and I've been really, you know, lucky over the course of my career. I got to work with Betty White, and I got to work, you know, and there's just some like real impactful people that I've been able to work with. And it's funny because Eric Mabius and I did this film years ago. It was an ABC Family film, and I had just the small part in it. It was called Nature of the Beast, and it was about a werewolf. It was some Halloween. It was, I never really saw it. But it was this like werewolf Halloween thing. And he was like the head werewolf, Eric was. And I don't know, I should just tell you. And I was like the guy who was like the kid who got eaten by him and killed. I never became a werewolf. I just was food. So then like cut to, you know, that was what, 2006 or 7. So maybe like 10 years later, I guess, or just under, here we are now doing this. And so that was a sort of fun reunion, you know. And he's great. I mean, everybody was really great, but that was fun to be able to reconnect with them. So favorite role, this definitely holds a special place in my heart for many reasons. But I would probably say a role I did years ago it was on a show called Seed, which was a lot of fun. And I got to lead that show. And so there were a lot of really fun challenges within that show. So yeah, I would say probably those two. But Carol Burnett, I mean, how can you go wrong?
Oh yeah, and especially in this one, her character is just so lots of drama. She's very theatrical.
Completely. Yeah.
I want to know how on earth you kept a straight face during her entire circus clown monologue. I watch it and I'm dying 2 seconds in, and it's how on earth did they all keep a straight face?
Well, you know, it was definitely tough. I mean, look, she is like the kindest person. She remembered everybody's name, right? On set, which was amazing. She's a legend. I mean, she's an absolute legend. And it wasn't so much about worrying about laughing, you know, during her phenomenal work. It was more so of like, don't get caught in like the captivation of this legend in front of you. Do you know what I mean? Remember, you have a line to say coming up, you know? So there was that. But I think the best part, which nobody would know, was in between takes. Because in between takes, we were laughing, we were telling jokes, we were singing "Luck Be a Lady." She just started singing the verse, like the before the even, you know, main part that most people know about. And I joined in, and she was surprised that I knew that part of the song. And so she's in the hospital bed getting, you know, dragged from the hallway back into the room because we're doing another take, and we're singing "Luck Be a Lady." And I swear I felt like I was in the Carol Burnett show.
It was
like a dream come true. You know, it was amazing. And then at the end, this was day 2, or I can't remember when it was. We finished, and she had her arms out, and she went, "Adam," and we shared a hug, and it was just the sweetest. She's the best, the absolute best.
That is so great. Awesome. And that's so special too, to be able to just share those moments with someone such as, you know, Carol Burnett, especially since, you know, a lot of the greats of TV, you know, they're all getting older, and it's becoming a very nostalgic time for a lot of people. So that is just so special and so fun. I mean, how many people could say they sang Luck Be a Lady with Carol
Burnett?
I mean, I feel like there's really a small group of us that can say that. If my career ended after that, I would be thrilled.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You guys didn't start into All No, did you?
Into what?
You didn't start into All No, did you?
No. No, but if they do want to, create another episode where we should probably work that out. Again, another Twitter campaign that we can put together. Sing-alongs with Adam and Carol.
Oh, man.
I would have to be,
Oh, you better watch out. The Postables will start tweeting that one too.
We've been talking on the podcast for so long about a Hallmark musical. So
we have.
Well, what are we waiting for here?
Let's get it together.
Bound to happen. Right,
Hallmark
Michelle?
sing-along with Carol and Adam.
There you go.
Yes.
You know what would
My
be
background is actually in musical theater.
Really?
Oh.
Yours too.
I went to a school called Randolph Academy for Performing Arts. And there you had to, it was sort of like Fame. Was it Fame? The television show with it was Fame, right?
Uh-huh.
The kids that went to so it was that. And you had to sing, you had to take dance, and you had to act. I went in as an actor, but you still had to do all three.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm
That's
down
awesome.
for a musical any day.
My background is musical theater too, so it gets me very excited.
Now, will Martha Williamson be able to put something together for us?
Can she write a musical? She could write a musical for Shane and Oliver's wedding. And the twins show up.
Oh my goodness. This is the greatest writers' room ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Oliver would be horrified. Some musical at his wedding.
For sure.
Oh, that'd be so funny.
So tell us a little bit, what was it like to play twins? Did you kind of have, any set mannerisms or personality traits you put into each one, or kind of how did that process look like for you?
It was the first time I ever played twins. And so
Have you done it since?
What's that?
Have you done it since?
Only for my wife. We do Sunday afternoon, like when you were kids and you would stand in the living room and do shows. That's what we do.
I love it.
We have dinner and then it's the show time. And so this Sunday will be my turn. And maybe I'll do a recreation of Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
There you go.
No, so yes, it's actually my one and only time where I played twins. And that was interesting. And doing research, and not at the time, this didn't come out at the time, but interesting seeing it after. I don't know if The Three Identical Strangers, have you seen the documentary?
I have heard of it.
It's a really captivating documentary. And the research that I did before the role was so very much in line with what that documentary was saying, was that even finding that twins that don't grow up together still have similar mannerisms and ways, and brings in the whole nature versus nurture and all that. But so I didn't want to stray too far away on a mannerism level. They did adjust the look slightly, but certainly the doctor in my mind was going to be a little bit more refined, a little bit more together, and also a little bit more closed off, because obviously he didn't have the same upbringing as Josh, right?
Matt.
Josh is the doctor. Matt is the...
Matt.
Yeah.
See, I now still get confused. Before each take, I'd be like, I am Matt.
Well, and you haven't done it for a while, so
that is true too. So there was that, knowing that Josh would be a little bit more together, right? The fun thing that I got to do, and this was a tribute to Carol, was there is the part in the hospital where I come out and I deliver the news, and where right before I see Matt, and I do a pull of the ear, and I did that on purpose for Carol.
For the Carol Burnett show. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And so if you go back and you'll see me, sort of rub my ear. And it was in that moment of getting a hug and sort of that wall, the doctor wall, sort of breaking down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you only work with a split screen, or was there a double as well?
There was a double. And I mean, the way they did it all was really phenomenal. That double, sort of in the background and only catching like a little bit of the double, or the double would be out of focus. Obviously wearing the same wardrobe. There was a split screen right at the very end,
right,
sitting together. But yeah, the double, who was great, he was there, and it was a little freaky because he did look like me somewhat. But it was it was the science of it all, making sure to get the right angles to not give it away, was a fun thing to be a part of.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a good segue into talking about the letter story. But before we do what we call these Teen Beat questions, and they're just really fun, silly questions to get to know you a little bit more. And so, Kaycee, are you guys did you say divide them?
Yeah.
So
have. Kaycee, you go ahead.
Alrighty. What would you say is the best ice cream flavor?
Chocolate peanut butter fudge brownie.
Oh, that is a good one.
Thanks.
Man, I'm hungry now.
Oh, yeah.
That one I have to hide from my kids. Like,
all right. Yeah.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Yeah. Good choice.
What music are you listening to right now?
Ooh. Well, I guess I'm a nerd. What?
I said your wife's?
Right, yeah, my wife's music. That is true. I'm Siobhan Dylan, One Voice is what the album is called, One Voice. But we can talk about that after. But I've been listening to a lot of Hans Zimmer. Does that make me a nerd? I hope so. I'm being a nerd. I love being a nerd.
He's a Renaissance man.
Right. Yes.
It's awesome.
What's your go-to date night food?
Sushi.
Ooh. Yes,
I'm
love
allergic.
So. Oh, are you? Oh.
I love me some good sushi too.
Good, like really good sushi. And Vancouver, where we shot, Signed, Sealed, Delivered, has phenomenal sushi.
That is what I've heard. A lot of actors that we've interviewed on the podcast have said sushi is fantastic in Vancouver.
Yes. But you know what? You can't really also deny like a really good steakhouse where the lights are dim and you've got like a candle on the table. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And a bottle of wine, maybe. Whatever you want to do.
All right. What is your go-to date night or date day activity?
Steakhouse.
Yes.
I knew you
perfect answer.
I knew you were going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that can be an activity. There's a lot to do in a steakhouse.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really good question. I mean, I would probably say during the day going to the beach and having like a picnic on the sand, watching the sunset, being able to like spend the afternoon and evening there.
Man,
awesome.
After my own heart. So can I get my husband down here?
Take notes.
Sweetie, we're going to a beach, then we're going to a steakhouse. You better get down here and take some notes.
Okay, let's see if I can stop laughing to ask you the next one. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Okay. Beaches or mountains?
Oh, that's...
I was gonna say you're in LA, but...
Both.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm going to go with mountain because you get to see the beach in the distance.
Oh.
There you go. Best of both worlds.
No one's ever said that before. They've said both with the beach looking up at the mountains. So,
Sure.
wow.
I like to be, closer to the sky, closer to heaven. You can just, just touch it,
Suit and tie or sweats?
Ooh, I mean, sweats. Although it is nice to put on a suit and tie, But you put on a suit and tie, then you're like, can I just get on back in my sweats? When can I get back? You go out, you put the suit and tie on, and you're like, I just want to get back home, put the sweats back on.
Especially in quarantine now. I mean,
I know,
we're all
who
living
wants to
in
wear
sweats.
a suit and tie now?
No, definitely not.
Alrighty, favorite holiday?
Favorite holiday? That's a really good question. 4th of July is really fun, and I do enjoy 4th of July. But there's something about Christmas time that just is unlike any other time of the year.
It's magical.
It is. It really is. Everything changes. It's like people are kinder. Things are just, I don't know, the air smells better. I don't know. Christmas time.
Especially in the world of Hallmark. Christmas, Christmas is where it's at.
Right? I mean, you want to go out and play in the snow, right? Or you're totally fine staying in with like a cup of cocoa by the fire. I mean, you can't go wrong.
No, you can't.
Can't go wrong. Nope.
Although he's the first
You got
one.
barbecue, you got to do the fireworks. It's just the whole thing.
He's the first one to say 4th of July, and he's
yeah.
a Canadian.
That's right. Really? Oh.
Yeah, you're the first
Yeah.
one.
Wow, interesting. I feel like that was like the go-to. No, wow.
Yeah.
Nope.
I think Christmas is most people's.
Yeah, most people say Christmas.
Yeah, it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, and I think
New
New Year's are the top three.
Oh, I haven't heard New Year's yet.
I've heard of New Year's.
I've heard New Year's.
Yeah. Right.
And last one, this might be a little bit harder because you're not as involved with the network, but favorite Hallmark movie. Do you watch them?
You know what? It's funny because growing up, me and my family, we used to watch a lot of Hallmark movies.
Okay.
It was like the go-to. But I can't remember off the top of my head. The only thing, which wasn't Hallmark, but I just keep thinking about Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Oh, yeah.
Love Dr. Quinn.
So can I just say Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman? Is that all right?
Yeah, I think
Sure,
they
why
air it on
not?
Hallmark Drama now.
Oh, yeah.
so-
They air it all the time.
Yep, done.
Like daily.
And they were airing it on Hallmark Channel for a while.
Mhm.
So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so
So
you're
there
good.
we go. There we go. My favorite Hallmark movie actually will be the musical version starring Carol and Adam.
Yes.
Is there an echo in here?
Right? Everyone has to do this when they Carol and
Jazz
Adam.
hands.
There you go.
It would be great actually if the Postables could send videos on Twitter, right? And just doing this, Carol and Adam.
Look at it
Come
go.
on,
We'll start the
Kaycee.
shade.
Come on,
Yeah.
Kaycee, put down the microphone and join in.
Right? Carol and Adam. Carol and Adam.
We got everyone doing it.
All right,
Oh,
Postables.
we need a screenshot of that.
Right?
Postables, you saw this. Share on the socials when you do. Carol and Adam.
We'll get it trending. We'll get it trending.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome. All right. So that brings us to our recap of the episode. And so this one starts. We see a very young woman dropping off a little baby at the door of a church. And there's a little letter that goes with the baby. And he's wearing a little hat that says Joshua. And we
My
also...
middle name is Joshua, by the way.
No, it is
way.
not.
Oh.
There's some trivia.
That's awesome.
And my parents almost called me Matthew.
Oh.
So.
Wow. You
Talk
were
about
born
meant
to
to
play
be.
this role.
Sorry. Let's continue with the recap.
No, this is what we want. We want
Yeah, we want all these
Yeah, we love this
backgrounds.
stuff.
We love tidbits.
So now we know Adam / Joshua / Matthew is born to play this role.
Right.
And we see in the episode that there's a little plaque outside the church that has part of a scripture verse on it talking about a hope in the future, which will come into play when
And
they look for him.
Jess, when calls the heart connection, that young woman plays Katie Yost. Katie Yost and When Calls the Heart. So
I don't know who that is, but I'll take your word for it.
yes, Kaycee and I are very big When Calls the Heart fans, just so you know, Adam.
No, that's good to know. That is good to know.
Yep.
I mean, these are all helpful pieces of information that may come into play down the line.
Yes,
Right?
during the Carol and Adam show.
Exactly. When calls the heart could be, I don't know, we can put them in somewhere.
The Hardys have been saying forever they want a musical episode. So
Well, here we go. This is it.
The ball is rolling. The ball is rolling. So the Postables get a special box of letters back at the DLL of lost dead letters that they have. And they happen to pick up this one that just has Pastor Thomas written on the outside. And on the inside is a note that doesn't have any name signed to it. It just says that, here's a baby. His name's Joshua, has a heart condition. I cannot take care of him. Please help him get the care that he needs so that he can have a hope and a future. Mm-hmm. And Shane immediately gets on the roll here and is able to find a women's center because it was written on a paper from a women's center. And they discover Hope Center, Women's Center, run by a William Thomas. And so they're able very quickly to track down the church that this child was left at. And then we learn Norman relates to this little baby in a very special way. And so what did you guys all think about, learning that Norman was a foster kid and that he was adopted? Because we hadn't had any hints of that through the series. Did anyone have anything whether you were really surprised or...
Oh my gosh, I forgot that this is the first time we hear about him being a foster kid.
Yeah, especially retroactively reviewing it.
Yeah, because
after seeing it 500
we watch
times.
everything, boom, 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 and then oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was surprised, but it made sense as to why he had so many cousins and to why he was maybe super quirky, especially as you hear about, how he was abandoned. And, that's very traumatic as a young child. I think he was very young.
Mm-hmm. He was, I don't remember, but he was found at a stampede, or he caused a stampede, and
it was 4
at a stock show.
Right. And then he was adopted when he was 8 by his forever family. So, but you know what? Going to the actors though, Jeff did an amazing job with that, just showing the vulnerability of Norman, because I mean, up until this point, Norman just he's kind of aloof, right? We don't see his shell crack at all. He's very, happy-go-lucky, kind of aloof. He does this thing. But this is the first time we get very personal, like up close and personal with Norman. And Jeff does an amazing job, especially when he hands Oliver the envelope that has the information about his birth family in it. And you can see his eyes are just like welling up. And I'm like, oh, he's going to cry. Now I'm going to cry because they're all going to cry. And we're maybe like 7 minutes in the movie or the TV show.
Right. And this relationship that he and Oliver have really established, he looks to Oliver as a big brother. Yeah. And it's the big brother that he never really had. And he's more than a cousin because Oliver takes such good care of him and he doesn't dismiss him. And it's so beautiful that he hands it to Oliver to open because he can't do it himself. And I just couldn't help but think, a whole year you go and you don't open this. He must have been terrified.
Yeah. But with the help and support of the Postables, he is able to open it via Oliver and learns that he has a grandmother who wants to meet him. And a grandmother she is. We see they go to the mailbox grill, and she just descends out of nowhere saying, "Norman, it is I. It is me. I am your grandmother." Just so theatrical. What were your guys' impressions when you first met? That opening scene with Carol Burnett as artist Parker Pennington Payne.
I didn't see the credits. I didn't see the opening credits that she was in it. I must have been distracted or something. And so when she appeared, I just guffawed. I laughed out loud. I went, "Oh my gosh, it's so perfect!" Because, I grew up watching Annie, the 1983 version of Annie. And so she was always so amazing in that role. And then, I've seen a little bit of the Carol Burnett show, and then to just see her pop up out of nowhere, I died. I died laughing.
She definitely had a lot of fun with that role, especially going up to Oliver and like squeezing his face because she thought he was Norman.
I know, he's just talking about his jaw.
And she's like, "You're not Norman, are you?" No.
Dash Norman.
And she's just a fun character. And we see her, as Postables know, throughout the rest of the series. And we learn about her being in the Biami tribe, and she drinks yak milk, and was in Papua New Guinea when they found her. And she is just has a lot of culture.
Wildfire.
And so Norman gets to know his grandmother. He learns a little bit about his mother, just a little bit, nothing too much. But as we learn, though, his grandmother is a little bit like Shane, and she likes to insert herself into situations where she probably has no business being in. We'll get that out in a moment. So back to Joshua and Matt. So the Postables set up a meeting to meet with Joshua to give him the letter. And what they learned, as we said, he's a cardiothoracic surgeon. So he had a heart condition, ended up going into medicine. And then when he gets that letter that his mother wrote, he's just like, nope. She's, I have my real mom, like my mother who, adopted me, and the one who cared about me. And he's not ready for that. He's not ready to accept that. So do you guys have any thoughts on that scene, how you felt, or any insight from you, Adam, on kind of playing that first
so
role?
many emotions that come to play when you get a letter, that rocks your entire world. I mean, a moment of shock and not even really being able to process that in the time given. It's what do you do? Certainly it's not something that I've lived through. You can only sort of research and do your best to how to approach it and understand it. But it would just rock someone's world completely,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Mm-hmm. And that
did you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Did you do any kind of a backstory where you discovered for the character? Did your parents tell you at an early age? Did you grow up knowing you were adopted, or did they reveal it to you when you were 18, or did you go that far back into your backstory at all?
From what I can remember, what I was doing was I made the choice to obviously know that I was adopted, right? That I didn't obviously know where I came from, but I made the conscious decision that letter was something new. That's not something that I had encountered yet. But I think for me as the character, it was making the choice, even if it was just a logical choice, because he's very analytical. He's a doctor. Facts, science matters. I think deep down, even whether he acknowledged it on a conscious level or not, which I believe it wasn't a conscious level for him, but deep down in his like most private moment in his heart, I knew that there was love and care and something out there that he just didn't want to address. And the more that he could stand behind science and numbers and analysis, he didn't have to go down the path of feeling and emotion and then therefore dealing with his past.
Yeah.
So when this comes to him, it's more so of a crack starts for sure, right. But it's a wall that is so deep. Yeah. Think of how many years he's had to build up this wall that it doesn't penetrate fully. And I don't think it could,
And that makes sense too, just knowing the profession and just that backstory of having a very, very hard exterior. And that's just something very vulnerable for that character to just have it brought back to him from strangers it's just very jarring in a sense.
Completely.
Yeah. And the revelations don't end there because as we learn soon after, Rita sees a picture of Joshua and it's like, oh, that looks like just like this this sports person's coach or something. And they find out there's also somebody named Matthew who happens to be Joshua's twin.
Yeah, that's
true.
That happened.
Yeah. And just thinking obviously it's such a big shock for Joshua to learn, oh, here's a letter from my mother, but really I think it's a bigger shock for Matthew to I had his brother and I got to stay with my mom and Joshua was given up for the reasons of his medical care, but still I think, what do you guys think? Do you think it was harder news for Matthew or Joshua to find out, learning all this?
Matthew,
yeah, because Joshua grew up knowing, or at least he had several years to know that he was adopted. But Matthew is 32 years old and his mother is living. That was the thing that kind of caught me off guard. So first the twin thing, I was like, whoa. And then, but my adoption, you sure you have the right house? My mother lives with us. Oh my goodness, she kept one of them. It was just this huge, whoa, mind-blowing moment. And so I think it was a bigger shock for Matt because he had no idea. He just had that instinctual feeling. How did you play that, Adam?
Yeah, it's exactly that, is that Matt didn't know. Matt lived his life, thinking one thing, and then all of a sudden everything changes. So that definitely was more of a shock, and certainly not equipped at all to deal with it. Whereas Josh, knew somewhat of where he came from, which was adopted. But Matt, again, it's a similar sort of, his world gets rocked, and there's time that's needed to process it. But I think it penetrates Matt at a faster point than Josh, right? Josh has got that wall. Matt doesn't really have a wall, right? So it just cuts through him a little bit faster.
Yeah. And especially finding out it's not just a brother, it's a twin. And, we hear all the time, I'm not a twin. I don't know if that anybody here is a twin, but twins that I know, they have this telepathy going on, and they've got this super deep connection that's deeper than a regular brother and sister. So for that character, it's like a sucker punch to the gut,
Well, it's funny because what we talked about, Three Identical Strangers, the documentary before, and seeing that, because these triplets didn't know that they existed.
Yeah.
They found each other, right, when they're later on in life. And they had similar ways about them. And there is this bond. There is this, you don't even realize it. And later on in the episode, in the hospital, when they meet each other, the idea of pointing, that happened. It was a conscious thing to point, but the way that the edit worked was incredible because that wasn't planned.
Oh,
You have both me and me pointing right at the same time, but that's exactly what would happen, right? Is that one twin would do the same as the other twin. It might be different hands, but their mannerisms and the way that they do things would be similar. But there is that unspoken, telepathic, who knows what, that connects the twins.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I wish we had gotten, a little bit more time. I know this episode was such a heavy Norman and his grandmother episode. I wish we had gotten to see a little bit more on the twins and them kind of dealing with those emotions, because we do have a pretty artist very cleverly gets them together via she's having heart surgery and randomly brings Matthew in, and but yeah, we didn't really get to see much of them kind of handling their meeting for the first time. We know it goes well. Joshua was able to hug his mother, even though he was very closed off before the walls come down. But I wish we had gotten to see a little bit more of that and just kind of all that taking place.
Yeah. And I would have loved to see that conversation with the twins and Norman too.
Oh,
that was the one thing. Just a little bit of something, just because Norman is very close to that situation. The fact that he himself was adopted and he was so excited to find his family, whereas Joshua was very like, I don't want anything to do with it. So you have two polar opposites, and then you have Matthew who's like, I just found out I have a twin. So I thought it would have been nice to see a little bit of that.
There was nothing ever scripted in that moment. It was only ever supposed to be us with Norman, and then the big moment being the mother walks in. But yeah, it would have been interesting to see. I mean, that in itself could be an entire separate series. I mean, that alone is such a heavy topic to deal with. But it is and like you said, there was so much other stuff going on in that episode. And that scene actually where the mother came in, they took time to get all that right, and especially because we were both on screen together, and so the special effects was an important part. But then they had to do the kissing scene with the rain falling, right?
Yes.
Right after. That's when they kiss, right?
No, they don't kiss.
Oh, yeah, sorry, no kiss. There's
no. I was about to say, Jess, what are you watching?
We've been talking about, Kaycee, how you were saying somebody almost kissed.
Somebody wanted to kiss somebody.
Right, yes, yeah. With the rain and all that.
Yeah.
My mind had happened. It was the perfect setting for in a typical rom-com. That's where it would have happened. The music was right. The mood was right. Like.
Yeah. It's okay. They kiss in the rain and higher ground, and we don't get to see that one either. But anyways, that aside.
That's true.
But there's so much to do in that episode.
Yeah, and speaking of that scene, we do need to briefly talk about Shane and Oliver, and because this is a very important moment, especially going into From Paris with Love and 2 movies later. So we saw in the beginning of the episode, Shane's looking for tweezers for some reason, and stumbles.
Sliver. She had a sliver.
A sliver. And she stumbles upon the letter that Oliver wrote to Holly in the Treasure Box episode. And, kind of uncharacteristically for Shane, she doesn't try to open it. She just respects it for once. She respects his space, and she's like, okay, I'm not going to read it. She leaves it in the drawer. She doesn't even ask him about it.
Oh, he's the one wanted to.
Tempted.
Oh, she wanted to.
He brings it up to her. And they have this whole very intense conversation during the hospital scene about, he's like, did you read it? And she's like, no, I didn't. And it's very heightened emotions. And you know, he says he's not afraid to mail it, and she's like, then what are you afraid of? Like, why is this letter still here? The stamps are on it. Like, you work at the post office.
Oh, yes.
And Holly was just a concept before she before Shane looked up the address.
And now she's real.
Now she's real.
A little too real. We'll see her too much of her in a different movie. But and then we have that very intense final scene of Oliver in the rain putting the letter in, and Shane is behind him with an umbrella. And I'm curious, do you guys think did Oliver know she was there? That Shane was there behind him, or she just?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I didn't either, but I was like, it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Adam, you don't think so either?
Okay, so there's no way.
He didn't look surprised.
He would have been like, "See, look," and
or like, "Bring this umbrella over here."
Yeah.
I know he held the letter out in the rain for a good 5 minutes. I was like, dude, of course it got lost. Get that thing in the mailbox.
You know what's going to happen to this letter.
It's going to get lost because it's ruined.
And he puts it in the box, and it goes, quote unquote. It goes somewhere. And we find out more about that from Paris with Love. But I will say, the first time I watched the series, now I binge watched this on the Hallmark Movies Now app, and when that ended, I was like, no, what happens next?
Wait a minute, I know what happens next.
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't know what happened next because I hadn't seen the series.
Oh,
no,
that's right.
I was watching it, in order.
Because it not only ends the episode, it ends the series. Like, that's like the big ending.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, to, recap that whole episode, I love the fact that there were two parallel stories of people finding their families in very odd way.
Interweaving. Martha's genius at weaving.
Is just
and just seeing Norman connect with artists, it was just so beautiful. I mean, she at the end she calls him her sliver of light because he told her the story about being stuck somewhere and it was really dark, and he saw a little sliver of light and knew that it was all going to be okay. And just like, that's so beautiful. Like those little touches that Martha puts in there.
Yeah.
Well, and Norman connecting with the twins on such a personal level, because Norman's usually the odd man out. And now he's the one. Remember what they said? He looks so mature. Our little guy is growing up because he's there talking to the twins, and he's the one who's able to relate to them. And I mean, Joshua's probably getting, I know there was never anything scripted, but I bet Joshua was getting several feelings out.
Yeah, for sure.
Would that, yes, Adam, no?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I
Why not?
my shoulder off camera. So, Jeff was just always there for me in my personal life too. So that was lovely.
You guys know each other off camera too.
Well, we got to know each other during the episode, and we stayed in touch.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I mean, again, it's like all those, I don't even know how many feelings. I mean, again, it's such a huge thing for Josh to go through, right? Even wrap your mind around something like that. And then the choice to hug his mother, right, at the end. That understanding of forgiveness, I think it was just such an important lesson for people watching. I think even for the characters of the show, being able to see that. Again, it's how do you wrap your mind around forgiving your mother who left you? Even if it was for a good reason. I think that it teaches all of us to be able to sort of step back from ourselves and really look at what someone else is going through, what their journey is. I don't think, and the mom, certainly in this episode, wasn't acting in a malicious way. The mom in this episode was trying to do the very best she could for her son, right?
Right.
So if we can, I'd like to believe that inherently everyone is good, right? We may make some wrong decisions, or decisions that may not be the best in the moment. But I do think we're inherently good. And if we can remember that, then we can learn something about ourselves and about other people and find that forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's an important lesson.
Yeah. And that's beautifully said. 100%.
And that's a beautiful note to end on. So that pretty well wraps up the episode because we're about out of time. And so really quick, we usually end with trivia. I have 4 trivia questions, and then we'll be ready to sign off.
Are you game, Adam?
I'm ready.
All right. Number 1.
Oh no, we usually, when we have a guest, we usually give the guest the first crack because it's been an hour or so since we watched it, but I don't know the last time you watched it. So
Been a bit.
All right. First one. According to Rita, what does Norman like to eat after a big day?
Popcorn.
No. Start the right letter.
All right, Kaycee, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Pudding.
Yes.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
She told him that at the hospital. She mentioned that, I believe.
Yeah, you're right.
Number 2. This one's kind of hard. What did Shane major and minor in college?
Oh my gosh. I actually feel like I do know this. Because don't they talk about it right before they meet Josh for the first time? Or no?
It's at the
in
very
beginning.
It's in the beginning, kind of, yeah.
Doesn't make any sense given what she does. But
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to go out on a limb. So it's major and minor, you said? Anthropology and law.
You're on the right track of the types of liberal artsy kind of degrees.
Yeah.
Okay, I know the
It's art history and philosophy.
Philosophy. I knew art history, but I did not know the minor. Minor was completely over my head.
All right. Number 3. What is Norman's biological mother's name?
Oh.
It was a very, very short, quick thing.
Parker Pennington Payne is all I know.
That's the grandmother.
I don't know.
Judith.
Oh, okay.
And last one, how old was Matt/Joshua's mother when she had them?
She was young.
Yes.
Yes.
So we know that.
We do.
I don't think she was in her 20s yet. I believe she was 18.
You're so close.
Plus 1.
9. I was going to say 9. I was going to say 19.
19.
Woo, we'll give it to you.
We'll give it to you.
All right, thank you.
That was a good round. Everyone did pretty good on the show.
Well, everyone except for me. But hey, if I could bring some entertainment.
Carol?
Yes.
And Adam.
Right?
So on that note, Adam, do you have any social media or anything like that you would like to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Korson Adam. I am also on Twitter at Korson Adam. And
I'm sensing a theme here.
this is a theme. I'm no longer on Facebook. Not for any particular reason, except I just never really used it. But Instagram and Twitter, I'm definitely a part of. And if you want to listen to a really great album, you should check out my wife, Siobhan Dillon, One Voice. It's on Apple Music, Amazon, Spotify. It's a really great listen. It's a lot of covers and just beautiful, beautiful voice.
Awesome. Can you spell Siobhan?
Yeah, SIOBHAN. It's Irish. Siobhan and then Dillon, DILLON.
Didn't you say that all the proceeds were going to something?
Yes, all proceeds are going to breast cancer. The foundation is New Haven, I believe. But if you go on my Instagram, you'll actually see my latest post on my Instagram is her singing in one take. She did this one take challenge, and it's her in her living room singing the song "She Used to Be Mine" from the musical Waitress. And it's just a beautiful rendition of that track. And you'll also see all the information there in my post about the new, I believe it's New Haven, breast cancer haven is I think what it's called, but you'll see it all there in the post.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
And, Kaycee, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Hallmark My Words.
Cammie?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Cammie Drama Girl, on Facebook, the Hooked Hardy Facebook page, and my blog is hookedhardy.com.
All right, and you can find me at Jess BSW blog on Instagram and Twitter. You can find this podcast at Deliver Me a Podcast, and then also Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast across all kinds of social media and YouTube and iTunes and all that good stuff. So please leave us your ratings and reviews, and make sure postables. Let's get it trending, okay? The Carol and Adam show. Okay?
I think he said Adam first, but
Right. We will give it to Carol.
Oh, good.
Adam.
Ding along. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yes,
it was.
so much.
Fun.
We're so glad we got to be able to talk to you and just hear a little bit more about working with Carol, especially, and all the other cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And playing a twin.
All right, and thank you to all our listeners for tuning in, and we'll see you next time with For Christmas. It's a big one.
Yes.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.